My name is Frank Evans, and welcome to the Santa Monica Civic Auditorium. As you know, I play records on the air, and about 2 years ago, a record plugger brought me an album and played it for me. I listened to it and I said, "You must be out of your mind. We don't stand a chance with this. I'll get arrested, you know, and I'll wind up with a hot dog stand." Anyway, I am very honored and very pleased, after 2 years waiting for this time, to introduce the only thing from Florida that we really need in California. So I give you a man who is, I think, above all charming and has a great deal of humility and a great deal of humanness. This is the kind of a guy, if you meet him on the street and you walk up and say, "Woody, how are you? Let me buy you a drink," he'll say yes. So, now I'm dead. Anyhow, here he is, and I'm most thrilled and honored to bring you Mr. Woody Woodbury.
I'm not used to dressing like this because concerts and me, well, we're just about as compatible as an expectant mother in a bikini. Frank, I want to thank you very much. After the show, meet me on the street and ask me for the drink. Will you do that? That's what I'm going to say. Common sense is a great thing in entertainment, you know. If you do stories that are way out, you only hit a few people. Like the beatnik said to the flat-chested girl, like, "Man." Where's Lois Marie? Lois, are you here? You sweet thing. You have lost weight. Boy, you really look good, Lo. How are you? She was Miss America. At that time, there wasn't too much competition. There were only 13 states, but she's a nice girl. Yeah. Lois and I went to school together many years ago. We won't say how many. Vassar. Yeah. No, I got a kid brother, Vassar. I wanted him to have the things I never had, so I sent him to Vassar. That's right. And you're my type of girl, really. You got everything a man wants. Bushy eyebrows and mustache and muscle. You get the prettiest legs of any girl in this room, too. It's the kind of legs I love, one on each side. Look at there, old dad. But let's face it, fellas, we spoil the women in this nation. We do. You girls deserve it. But if men are analytically honest, we spoil our women. I don't want to get into a long dissertation relative to that. But we do spoil the girls. We put you on pedestals, and you belong there. There's only one other nation in the world where the woman walks ahead of the man, and that's Korea, on account of landmines. That's right. Yeah. People realize divorce is unheard of in Korea. They don't even know what that word means. The husband says to his wife, "Honey, let's go for a walk." That's all. Boom! And you're single. That's all in the world it amounts to. It'd be a great place for mother-in-laws, wouldn't it? And yet too many detrimental things are said about mother-in-laws. You girls in here right now, if you're not now a mother-in-law, perhaps you have been. Someday you will be. I'd never met my wife to be. Literally speaking, if it hadn't been for her mother, the night I met my wife to be, she was with her mother. I mean that in truth, and I met him in a bar. They used to hunt together. This guy went to the doctor. He said, "Doc, I'm 89 years old. I'm going to marry a girl 19. What do you think about that?" The doctor said, "I think you're flat out of your mind. Do you realize such a marriage could be fatal?" The old guy said, "So let her die." Stories that both sexes like. Men and women of all ages. Yeah. I know whereof I speak when I say that, because my grandmother died at 113. But they saved the baby, which I think was the most important thing. And before you get out of here tonight, you'll have granted me one concession. Other than the long, ridiculous lines, I don't sit up and talk about that raw sex all night long. Sex is here to stay, and we're all adults. As long as sex is here to stay, I respect the fact that you know it, and you know that I know that you know it. Why in the world sit up and talk about sex all the time, right? Action! That's it. Everybody in here knows that when sex is good, it's wonderful. And when it's bad, it's still pretty good, isn't it? Taking the federal case. Are you a married woman, this girl right in front of me? Fine. How long you been married? 10 years? Family? Yeah. How many? 2 in 10 years? That's about average. It's nothing really to rave about. It's all right. I did better when I was single, but oh, you did too? Oh. Those things happen. You remember your honeymoon? Vaguely? Is it really vaguely? Never let your honeymoon be over. You know, I'm not qualified to give you any advice. A lot of people think a honeymoon is over when a quickie before dinner is a drink. And it isn't necessarily true. It goes deeper than that. That's right. And when you're young, you learn things. Like I was 24 before I found out a matinee wasn't necessarily a movie, too. It's just, you learn things as you grow older. It's like the newlyweds. I started to tell you this. They're married 5 days. And they got full of whiskey. And the husband turned to his new bride. He says, honey, we're going to make love a new way tonight. She said, what do you mean a new way? He says, we're going to lie back to back. She said, how can that be any fun? He said, I've invited another couple. No two ways about it. French music to me is the prettiest music, and I hesitate to play French music because it brings back memories to some people who are here, you know, regardless of where I am. I sometimes play French music, and I see strong men, and I wouldn't say they weep, that would be ludicrous, you know, but they go. Because you are entitled, you have your memories like everybody else. Some of you guys were over there before you were married. Remember some of those French words you learned over there? Chocolate bar. Certainly. And I went the other way, to the Orient. And what days we had. We used to walk down the streets in Tokyo and look at those Japanese girls and say, Watashi wa anata o aishimasu. 30,000 yen, get that. Is this pretty music? French music. Think this is too sexy, John? For me. About as sexy looking as an olive with this pimento hanging out, I don't know. Some of you wives would love to make something dirty out of that, wouldn't you? But it ain't. No, it ain't. I wish I could speak French. I say a few words. Piece de resistance. I mean, she's mighty hard to get close to. Carte blanche means you're bringing Blanche home in a wagon. Jeanne d'Arc means there's no light in the bathroom. Hors de combat. It means the girls are fighting again. Get pretty close to home there, didn't I, old buddy? Did you hear what the French poodle said to the butcher? Saves the bone. sweet, that French music, isn't it? Even World War I veterans have their memories, I guess. That's the oldest story in the world, isn't it? 2 World War I veterans were talking at once, and Charlie, remember that stuff they used to put in our potatoes in 1916? They goes, yeah, I remember that damn stuff. You know, it's just now starting to work on me. Oh, what an old story. Yeah, what are you going to do? But it's probably the kids today that'll do more to bug anything else. Their idea of humor. This 11-year-old boy was at boarding school, and he wrote a letter to his father. He wrote, "Dear Daddy, I just made the freshman basketball squad. Please send me $10 for a pair of warm-up pants." And his father answered him, "Dear son, here's $20. Buy a pair for your mother." Which is maybe why he's in boarding school. You never know, see? I'm not qualified to talk about things like that. I don't know. Like the father wrote the letter to his son. And he wrote, "Dear son, now that mother's passed away, these next few months are going to be very lonesome for me. So when you write to me, always use the pronoun we. It'll bring me that much closer to you." So the boy agreed to this, and a few weeks went by, and he wrote a letter. "Dear Dad, everything here at college is just fine." And he wrote, "We got a girl in trouble." He wrote, "She had twins. Mine died. What are we going to do with yours, Dad?" These are human frailties that we all bump into. Heaven hope it doesn't happen to us individually or anything. Really, a person makes or breaks his own good time. I used to do a piece of material years ago. I used to say we have very much of a hometown atmosphere, and we want to keep it as home-like as we can. It's a very, home-like place. And I used to say, "This is the homeliest bunch I ever saw." People would giggle at it, and that's all there was to it. Then one night, the ugliest barracuda I've ever seen in my life. She had a mouth like a torn pocket. She had the gall to jump up and say, "What do you mean calling us homely?" If I had a map like hers, I'd have rolled it up, if you want to know the truth. I looked at this snaggle-toothed old turkey. I said, "Madam," and she may have been. I said, "I've been in this business for 10 years. Never in my life have I ever said anything to anybody with any malicious intent or with any intent to hurt anybody. I said, if I offended you, I'm sorry and I apologize." I said, "But I don't mind telling you, I think you're sick. With an attitude like that, you don't even belong in a nightclub. Fat old witch." And I explained it to her and explained it to her, and I finally got her to see the light. And by God, I'm proud to say she's here with us tonight. Carol, stand up and take a bow and let this be. That'll shake her up, John. You'll have no more trouble out of her, I'll guarantee you. Women, they're just marvelous. I'm descended from a long line that my mother listened to. And aren't we all, huh? Yeah. That's why I think women have a better sense of humor. Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream. Make her brush her teeth with Listerine. Make sure she smells sweet like nice fresh clover. Anything I hate is underarm odor. I don't think it's that funny, but I love to watch the eyebrows on you women. You go, ugh. Men, as a rule, don't give a damn, but for some reason, women think that B.O. should not be talked about in public. If you girls think that, you are negative thinkers. Because B.O. is like communism. In order to combat it, you must discuss it. I read in a soap ad in Collier's magazine before they went defunct. Every person in the world has a touch of B.O. 13 places. I spent $108 trying to get rid of B.O., then discovered I didn't have any friends anyhow, so I didn't mind talking about it. About me. Think that's bad? The guy lives across the street from me. He's got it so bad the kids tried to tip him over last Halloween. Think of that. With a last name like mine, I really take a beating. Woodbury. I like dial better because I like the way it's spelled backwards, but I can't seem to work it into this damn music anywhere here. Be surprised how many of you want pencils and papers right now, too, huh? Sure. you hear about that new deodorant called Gone? You spray it all over you, you disappear, and everybody stands around and wonders where the hell the smell's coming from. You realize the problems that people have? Booze. I'll read you a problem here in a minute. We should count our blessings. John, the girl you love is charming, boy, but I can tell you this. She'll break your heart as readily as she will steal your kiss. She tilts her chin in mockery. There's love fire in those eyes, but lips that smile a pretty smile, John, they'll whisper pretty lies. Her feet's a light and dancing, buddy, they'll just as lightly stray. Those pretty hands of hers are dexterous at throwing dreams away. She will break your heart to bits, that much at least I know, but I wish I'd have found me a tomato like that about 15 years ago. Wonderful. Did you hear the story about the four little bulls? One wanted to go to Rome and be a papal bull, one wanted to be a bull on Wall Street, one wanted to be a bull in a China store. And the fourth little bull wished them all luck, but he said he'd rather stay right where he was for heifer and heifer and heifer and heifer and heifer. Spread it around, Dad. That's the answer. It boils down to the little truisms, doesn't it? Certainly. There's only one thing worse than a bachelor, and that's his son. I'm convinced of it. Yeah? The decent things, really, kindly things. I told this story one night, and I tell you this truly, this really happened. I said, I wonder if there are women, you know, after they're married a while, if they become cool or unaffectionate or even frigid towards their husband. This man, he was half loaded, I'll tell you the truth. Right in the middle of the room, he'd jump up and say, my wife is terrible. She was sitting right there. I was never so embarrassed in my life. It was just miserable. But he passed out later, and I went out with her, and man, she was terrific. I mean, great. So who's qualified to judge, you see? It boils down to individuals. You're a tremendous audience. It's hard for you to realize this. I shouldn't say it's hard for you to realize it, but it's hard for me to realize it. I don't know how long I've been up here, but I think I've been up here too long. I think we should bust this for your own general well-being. And with your kind indulgence, I'll turn this over for a couple of minutes to Frank Evans, okay? We'll come back in a couple of minutes, and then we'll do the live stuff. Thank you.
I hope you've enjoyed the warm-up, and the show will start after about a 10-minute pause, so hurry back. It gets better even. Let's welcome him back with a big Los Angeles welcome, huh? And Santa Monica welcome. Mr. Woody Woodbury, ladies and gentlemen.
I got this note here. Elderly lady with hearing aid wants to meet elderly gentleman with batteries. Incidentally, if Jimmy Cashman is here, Jim, I'll get to you after the show. Jim is one of my best friends. He now lives in Las Vegas, and everybody in his lifetime has a tragedy. Jimmy's had two. Anybody who has two tragedies and comes up a fighter, this is a guy you have to have respect for. Jim was not only an Essex salesman, he was an Edsel dealer. He's had it worse than most people. He's doing very well in Las Vegas today. Like this guy picked up this beatnik who was hitchhiking. He pulled up to this intersection. He said, anything coming to the right? And he said, no, it's a dog over there. And the guy made a left turn. Tremendous crash. 2 weeks later, they both wake up in the hospital. He said to the beatnik, I thought you said there was nothing coming but a dog. And the beatnik's like, man, a greyhound. Wonder about things like that. The little true things in life. To which is human, to scratch divine. That's all the world it amounts to. It's the little things in life, true things. Like you hear these definitions of home. Home is where the heart is. What a lot of hogwash that is. What is home? I'll give you the best definition of home you ever heard in your life. You stop and you just be analytical about it. What is home? Home is where you can scratch any place that itches. That's what home is. Isn't that right? Why, certainly. What is home without mother? Terrific place to bring girls. That's what it is. Just common sense. Common sense is all in the world it is. Booze is the only answer. Here's to drink, for he who drinks gets drunk. He who gets drunk sleeps. He who sleeps does not sin. He who does not sin goes to heaven. So if you want to go to heaven, drink. Isn't that right? Two drunks built this great, big, roaring bonfire up against the Washington Monument. This third drunk comes stumbling along and said, "Never get it off the ground." No two ways about it. I'm convinced of it. Two drunks in New York were talking to one, said, "I'm going down to Florida, Charlie, but with all those plane crashes, it's just terrible. I'm going to take the train." Second drunk said, "Are you crazy? Didn't you read about that train crash up there in Virginia? Killed 116 people. Other drunk said, "How in the world did that happen?" He said, "The plane hit it." Common sense. Power of positive thinking. No two ways about it. This college prof was up in front of his freshman class, and he said, "Students, this is your first practical experiment in simple chemistry. This tumbler contains H2O, 2 parts hydrogen, 1 part oxygen. Water. I'm going to drop a simple worm into this tumbler. Plink. See the way the worm lives and wriggles around and thrives and is happy? Look at that. Now, class, this tumbler contains alcohol. I'm going to drop an identical worm into this tumbler. Plunk. See the way the worm shrivels up and dies? Now, class, what does that prove? There's always some kid in the back of the room says, "If you drink whiskey, you'll never have worms." It's a good thing to know, isn't it? Because most of you can look back to your high school days or college days, and it was similar to that, you know. The kids on this fraternity party, one says, "Claude, you drive. You're too drunk to sing." Happy days? Sure. It's like the drunk was seated at the bar and he burped, and this fellow jumped off the bar and says, "How dare you burp in front of my wife?" The drunk said, "I'm sorry, sir, I didn't dream it was her turn." Which is a nice way to look at things, because that way you don't hurt anybody, see? Yeah. Booze. Uh-huh. That's right. More people died from water than ever died from alcohol. Remember the Great Flood? That's simple, isn't it? But I like stories about people who drink. I do, because I think the reason I like to tell them, and I truly respect the fact that none of us drink like that. But we all know somebody who does, don't we? That's always the case. When you leave here and go to some other place where they do serve a drink, when you get ready to leave, the last thing I do is advocate alcoholism, but have one more drink before you leave, especially in this area. Face traffic with confidence. It means a great deal. It means a lot. There's no two ways about it. It's the common, simple things in life. Like the Indian who didn't know the difference between heads and tails. Brought home the damnedest looking scalps you ever saw. It's like the Indian wrote the letter to Santa Claus. He wrote, "Dear Santa, me have squaw 40 years old. She too old. Please send me 2 young squaws, 20 years each." Santa Claus sent him 2 beauties. A week later, the old chief wrote a second letter. He wrote, "Dear Santa, please send back old squaw. Me not wired for 2 20s. That's simple. Is that right? Problems. Yeah. Funny thing happened. We checked into this place, too. Just for coming out here, this guy said to the clerk, he said, "I'd like a nice room with a bath for my wife and myself." And the clerk said, "I'm sorry, sir." He said, "But the last room we had with a bath we just let not long ago." He says, "I have 1 room left, and it does not have a bath." So this guy turned, "Honey," he said, "does it bother you?" He said, "If the room doesn't have a bath?" She said, "It's okay with me, mister." about things like that, you know. True. I was on a girl one night, she had a dress on cut so low, I had to look under the table to see what she was wearing. Sneakers. Sorry about the girl bought a living brown that bit her. Anybody lives in the past for any length of time, they eventually cart you away to the funny farm, you know? But it's fun to reminisce. This college couple were parked down by the river in the moonlight, and she looked up at him and said, "If I refuse, will you commit suicide?" He said, "That's been my usual procedure." It does bring back memories to a lot of it, doesn't it? Certainly. And it's the same today, relatively, but it's a little bit different. Nowadays, a college couple is parked down by the river in the moonlight, and he'll ask her, "If I make a pass at you, will you yell for help?" She said, "Think you'll need it?" That's the only difference. They're probably a little bit ahead of us. Two ways about it. You know, porcupines make love? Very carefully. It's a silly story, but it doesn't really hurt anybody, you see? It's a ridiculous story. I just told myself a dirty one. I better not. Here's a cute story. This traveling salesman was thirsty, and he stopped at a farmhouse for a drink of water. He's drinking water. He looked out the window, saw a little rooster with a pair of overalls on, started laughing to be in hell, and asked the farmer why. The farmer says, "A while back here," said, "we had a tornado come through here. It picked every damn feather off that rooster." He says, "My wife felt so sorry for that little fella," said she made them overalls for it. Salesman started laughing. He said, "Man, that's the funniest thing I've ever seen." The farmer said, "Hell, if you think that's funny, I'll see that rooster trying to hang on to a chicken with one leg, get them damn overalls off with the other." Sort of a silly thing, isn't it? Stories like that. I think the sillier the story, the better it is. No two ways about it. This woman was in her bathtub at her home. She's taking a bath. And the doorbell rang. She said, "Who's there?" He said, "A blind salesman." So she said, "What the hell's the difference?" So she answered the door in the nude. He walked in and said, "Where do you want these blinds put, lady?" The little things in life. Booze. The reason I don't play the piano, like I said, I hate music. When I was a kid, I'll be honest with you, when I was a youngster, I worked with all the bands. Bobby Guy's here, he'll tell you. I worked with Miller and Dorsey. Fred Miller and Charlie Dorsey. I don't know if you ever heard of them. And a lot of you look back, today you look back and say, "Oh, if I only would have practiced, I could play the piano like he, or I could play a piano like she, or I could play the clarinet with the trumpet." Nobody likes to do what he's forced to do. I could teach any of you to play the piano in 4 minutes. Some of you look at a keyboard today and it looks like a bunch of alligator teeth. Others of you can play rings around me. I respect that fact. Take the little finger of your right hand. That's a note. It's also a key. They just call them different things to confuse you right off the bat. Some people really don't want you to learn. They want to terrify you to begin with. That's a note. It's also a key. Then count down 8. That's an octave. A piano is laid out in 8s. Same in the left hand as it is in the right. These are white keys. They're also white notes. These are black keys. They're also black notes. People, they just, different terminology just to bewilder you. The only thing you have to remember is to stay on octaves. And the only thing you ever have to memorize is the physical distance between your little finger and your thumb. Best way to do that, by God, is to look at it. That's all. Pretty simple. You don't even need rhythm. Just stay in octaves. That's all in the world you have to do. You don't like to play there? You can play in the black keys. Don't make any difference at all. You want to go to the white keys? Don't ever try and play on the black keys in one hand and the white keys in the other, because that's a little confusing. Stay away from that. You either play on the black keys or play on the white keys. That's all in the world that amounts. So I can teach any of you to play the piano. That's called a DiMaggio. Never even have to look at the piano. rather each span than do that. There's no two ways about it. Saying in the beginning, the good Lord created heaven and earth, and then he created man. And from man he took a rib, and he made woman. And he made woman as we see her today, lovely to look at, delightful to hold, and heaven to kiss. Give her a wonderful figure and a fine personality. Give her pretty hair and pretty eyes and nose and cheeks and chin and eyebrows and eyelashes. Even gave her pretty ears, gave her pretty fingers and pretty toes. Gave her pearly white teeth and beautiful red lips and a gorgeous mouth. Then he put a tongue in it and ruined the whole damn thing. And I don't want you girls to think I'm partial or prejudiced. And some of you automatically say, well, he was all right up until the very last, now he starts bum rapping the women. We're the product of our own environment. I love women. In fact, when I finish here, I'm going to do a show later on tonight, just a small show. She and I. So girls don't think I'm that way, because at the outset, the good Lord created heaven and earth, and then he created man. He took one look at man, he said, you're my creation, I'm proud of my work. He said, I hereby endow you with 20 years of normal sex and productive life. And man said, thank you very much, Lord. Then the Lord looked up into a tree, and there he saw a monkey, and he said the same thing to the monkey. And the monkey replied, Lord, I don't want 20 years of normal sex and productive life. Just give me 10 years, give me out of the 10 to man. The Lord said, it shall be. And then he looked up in another tree, and there he saw a parrot. And he said the same thing to the parrot, but the parrot replied the same as had the monkey. And then the Lord went out into the rocky climes of the world, and there he saw a lion. And he said the same thing to the lion, but the lion growled. And answered the same as the monkey and the parrot by replying, Lord, I don't want 20 years of normal sex and productive life. Just give me 10 years and give me out of the 10 to man. And the Lord said, it shall be. And so it was, and so it is today. Man receives 20 years of normal sex and productive life, 10 years of monkeying around, 10 years of talking about it, and 10 years of lying about it. It's that simple. I hate the word jealousy. You always hear it misused. Really you do. You'll hear sometimes a beautifully gowned, intelligent woman turn to a friend of hers and say, oh, she's jealous of her, talking about somebody. Or you hear some guy say, he's jealous of him. Physically impossible, grammatically incorrect. You cannot be jealous of another person. You are only jealous of someone's attention toward another person. I'm not jealous, I'm envious. I admit that I am. Some of you, when you leave here tonight, you go back to your homes, your apartments, where you stay. Others you go out for a night lunch or breakfast, and still others of you go to some place of entertainment, some other nightclub or something, which I firmly advocate. But that's why I am envious, not jealous, but envious. There's some semblance of planning to your night out. Whereas I leave here, I go to a hotel room full of half-empty whiskey bottles and naked women. Is that a way to live? Damn right, boy.
Little Woodbury, ladies and gentlemen. Stand back for a bow. Thank you very much all for coming. Good to have seen you all. I hope we can get Woody back in another year. In the meantime, thank you so much and good night.